know it's weighing on your mind. But next time you see me, I'll be up and lifting. Yes, I will give you hope. I am learning as I go to shine on, shine on, shine on. There'll be time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. I know how dark it seems. Feel it coming up inside of me, and I feel it in you too, in everything you do. But next time you see me, we'll both be laughing, or just to be alive. We are learning to shine, shine on, shine on, shine on. There'll be time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. Shine on, shine on. There'll be time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. There is work to be done, so you've got to shine on.
Welcome, everyone, to Solid Ground's annual Building Community event, this year known as the Golden Hour. We're so excited for you to have us, to join us today from whatever screen or computer or phone you're watching from, to join us in celebrating community brilliance and resilience. My name is Finica, and I work at Solid Ground, helping to connect passionate people like yourselves to our work to solve poverty, and I'm thrilled to be one of your co-hosts for the evening. If you're new to Solid Ground, welcome. We are a Seattle-based organization working to solve poverty by meeting basic needs, nurturing success, and spreading change. And over the next hour together, we're going to showcase some amazing videos that spotlight some of the work we've been doing recently. We'll hear from our new CEO, Shalimar Gonzalez, who's here with us today at Town Hall. And if you stick around to the very end, you'll catch a special performance that you'll probably only ever catch on this stage. But first, before we dive into all that awesome programming, I would love to introduce my co-host for the evening. He's well known in the Solid Ground community as a volunteer, longtime supporter, and mentor to some of our families at the Broadview and Sandpoint housing communities. And he just so happens to be a Grammy Award-winning artist who's performed around the Seattle area for decades. You've heard him sing everything from the national anthem at sporting games to opera to that famous, unforgettable tagline in that hit song about thrift shopping. So please join me in giving a warm golden hour welcome to my co-host, Wands.
What's that? Thanks, Finica. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited because we have a little musical surprise at the end. You got to stick around, though, okay? Welcome to everyone joining us from across the area, across the state, across the country, and thanks to the World Wide Web, the world. While we can't see your faces, we invite you to engage with Solid Ground throughout the program. Please take a moment to introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. Use the chat to be part of the show. We have moderators on YouTube and Facebook who would love to connect with you. And thank you for participating. We will be awarding 5 $50 gift cards donated by Whole Foods Markets. Winners will be drawn from names of people in the chat, so you must be present to win. We're coming to you live from Town Hall, beautiful downtown Seattle. We're grateful for their support of the Golden Hour and for their careful COVID precautions. As you can see, we're doing everything we can to stay safe, and we hope that you are safe as well.
Yeah, thanks, Juan. We're definitely keeping our distance and feel really safe and taken care of here at Town Hall. So thanks to all of those folks. And like Juan says, we hope y'all are staying safe out at home and wherever y'all are watching from. Before we dive into this amazing program we have set up for y'all, we want to take a second to acknowledge Solid Ground's relationship with Indigenous land and Indigenous communities. Solid Ground operates on land that has always belonged to the Coast Salish and Duwamish people. As a modern nonprofit, we are part of a colonialist system that has stole their land, attempted genocide, and to this day continues to oppress Indigenous communities. We know that we can't achieve our mission to solve poverty without changing our relationships to the Indigenous peoples of this land. So we've pledged to build deeper relationships with the Duwamish, Coast Salish, and other Indigenous peoples of this area, and work to repair those colonial impacts. And with that, we encourage our network of supporters and volunteers and donors to join us in that work. And one of the very first steps you can take in that work is by knowing which Indigenous communities are on your land. So head over to the chat from whatever platform you're watching on, and you'll see a link to a website where you can look up which Indigenous communities are in the area you're living on, and let us know in the chat. We want to see and hear from you all what Indigenous lands that you're watching from.
Yeah. And of course, we are here to raise critical funding for Solid Ground's work to help solve poverty for over 76,000 people each year. Thanks to passionate supporters like you, we've already surpassed 65% of our goal. Thanks so much for giving when you registered. So, what can you do now? If you text GLOW, G-L-O-W, to 50155, or check out in the chat the link to give. Thanks to some of our generous supporters, we have matching funds available during the next hour. If you make a gift of $500, $250, $150, your impact will be doubled. Thank you to Bridget Perry, Tipton Blish, the Coho team at Windermere, and Whole Foods Market for making all of this possible.
Yeah, thanks so much to all the folks out there who've already donated to help support community brilliance and resilience. It's truly been unprecedented times that we've been a part of, and I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard that term, but it is. It's hard to believe that, you know, we've all been living together through a global pandemic for over a year now, and this pandemic has disproportionately impacted those who are experiencing low incomes and are Black and Indigenous and communities of color. And at Solid Ground, we've seen compounding needs in healthcare, in transportation, in food access, and in housing support. We've been reminded of this deep structural inequity that are baked into our systems and our societies. And we've also deeply felt a national reckoning with systemic racism. So, to say the least, it's been a challenging year for a lot of folks, and it's been a year filled with grief. But I think it's really important to remember that even among those darkest times, we've seen communities come together in new ways and shine and show amazing resilience and amazing brilliance. And, we've seen people come together and adapt and innovate and care for each other in new ways and uplift each other in new ways. And, I think that's what we want to celebrate today and spotlight and share with you all today in the Golden Hour. So with that, our very first video highlights a bit of that brilliance that we've seen from our own Solid Ground staff, specifically our community food education team, which has continued to adapt to make sure that they can continue to bring togetherness through food. So let's watch this video and learn a little bit more.
Cooking Matters is a national program that focuses on increasing cooking and nutrition skills for adults and families living on low incomes.
In person, pre-pandemic, it was a lot of logistics around cooking together in the same classroom.
There's a section for cooking and nutrition,
Practicing a lot of kitchen skills.
and the main thing is that we're all cooking together.
So when the pandemic started, we were trying to figure out, what do people need right now? The first thing that we did was think about just sharing some basic skills and tried to focus on things that people would be able to find in food banks or just lower cost items.
So a lot of our work kind of experimenting with what does work and what do people need and how do we create a warm atmosphere, a together atmosphere just within in our own kitchens.
In a really socially isolated time, it's been really cool to have a space for people to come together each week and cook. We have been asking people to take pictures of their foods on the Fridays after our cooking demos and then send them to us. So one of the first things that we do in our classes in the beginning of the week is share the pictures that everyone sent in, which can be kind of a fun and community building thing too.
It's a space where you don't have to cook, but you can cook, you can just listen, you can talk, you can chat in the chat box. You can watch the recipe and learn how to do it just from watching and make it on your own later.
It's fun too to have people share along in the process too. So where are people at with chopping their onions and showing where people are at and having people give a thumbs up or thumbs down, thumbs sideways. People will actually either bring their computers or their phones or their cameras over to show where they're at. And so it feels a lot more like cooking in person.
Working at Solid Ground, our commitment to anti-racism is something that's really present in our team and in everybody that works at Solid Ground. We've had to really reimagine the way that we're delivering a lot of the curriculum, and that has given us a little bit of space to also imagine how can we better live into that anti-racism commitment. We're providing more historic context, and we're talking more about the systems that are at play that make it so that people are unable to access healthy, quality food, and bringing our participants into those conversations.
But a lot of what nutrition education is in the United States is really white American diet dominant. And so just trying to highlight recipes from all over the world. So curry was kind of this invention from the British colonizers to evoke the flavors that they saw in Indian cuisine. There was a lot of wealth created by the spice trade that wasn't really invested back into the country of India. It was actually kind of invested back into the British Empire. Really tells a lot about the history of places and the way that a lot of the food that we eat is really shaped by colonization. I think one thing that gives me hope is just seeing people kind of be able to rewrite their own relationships with food. I know that food is such a cause for celebration for so many people and enjoyment and pleasure, and can also be really a stressful thing or a shameful thing or something that's tied to more painful memories.
Just people realizing we have the power to reimagine the world and create the world that we want to live in, and we have the power to meet our own community's needs because we know what we need. And I think recognizing that even as things have been so hard, people's ability to still recognize their own power and their own agency is something that gives me a lot of hope.
Woo.
Wow, that was something, huh?
Totally.
It's so cool to see how these teams have adapted in so many creative ways, and somehow the community food education team has found a way to continue centering participants in virtual classes, which I think is a huge feat. And they've also found a way to use food and cooking as tools to talk about broken systems and racism and connecting to culture, which, I think is really awesome, and big props to that team.
It just makes me hungry.
And the food looked so good. Definitely getting some food after golden hour. I think that teams adapting has really reminded us that everyone out there in the world has had to adapt to COVID. And this adapting for organizations like Solid Ground takes resources. Your donation can help our teams continue to meet people where they're at these days and continue to support community in creative ways like you saw in that video. Your gift supports responsiveness across the agency to everything from our tenant services that are providing virtual workshops about renting rights to our access bus drivers who actually went from transporting people to transporting food and meals during the pandemic across the city. So we hope you consider donating to make sure that we can continue being responsive to community needs, especially as we move into phases of rebuilding after COVID, which will have a slew of new challenges. So today you can make your donation in two really easy ways. You can text GLOW to 50155 or head over to the chat for the link to donate. And like Wands was sharing earlier, we have some awesome matching donors who've stepped up today so that your gift of $500, $250, or $150 will be doubled. So if you make a gift in the next hour, your impact will be twofold. So thank you to Bridget Perry, Tipton Blish, the Coho team of Windermere agents, and Whole Foods Market for making this match possible. Let's keep that thermometer moving. It's really awesome to see that thermometer rising. So let's keep those gifts coming in. And thank you so much for your support.
One of the things that makes Solid Ground different from other service providers in our decades-long focus on advocacy to address systemic barriers to full participation in society, especially for our Black, Indigenous, people of color, and other marginalized people, we know that by centering the voices and experience of people impacted by racism and oppression, we can create tremendous change. Here's a look at how an advocacy effort focused on program participants is keeping folks who were experiencing homelessness in a stable housing environment throughout the pandemic.
Now, our program is a housing first program. Well, of course, the biggest challenge is homelessness. We know that once they get permanent housing, that it makes it much easier for every other part of their life. Because if you're homeless, it affects your health, it affects the safety of your children, it affects you being able to do permanent employment. So once we get that housing piece done, then the families have a safe place to land. They have something to call their own.
I was a part of the Solid Ground program because I was homeless for 2 years, and even working 16 hours a day, there was never enough. Solid Ground did everything they could to help me. At the time that they helped me get into a place, I had actually been sleeping in my car for almost 6 months. I was an Uber driver, an Uber and a Lyft driver, and the pandemic for me was terrifying. I lost my car because of the pandemic, which for me as a driver, that meant that I lost my employment.
When folks lost their incomes, they were not able to contribute any resources toward rent, and our program stepped in and paid the remaining balance, which dramatically increased our rental assistance costs. We made a pretty challenging decision early on in the summer to stop taking on new referrals to our program because we just didn't have the funds to support helping other people move into housing.
It was all a pretty collaborative effort, but we alerted the agency folks, look, we think there needs to be a legislative fix here. We think it's the only way that we're going to be able to ensure stability for the families in our program, centered around finding the best possible opportunity for some of the families that are participating in Journey Home to tell their story.
When I met LaTanya, she was a little tired, I could tell, a little bit stressed, but she still had that sparkle on her eyes. She still had that tenacity, and I knew that she really wanted the program to work.
Akibalan is amazing, and she has been there every step of the way. Like, there's not been a moment that I didn't feel supported by Akibalan.
I knew that a lot of people could resonate with her story. She was working, she had a very good job, but still she got laid off and she found herself in this situation.
I gave my testimony and just told them the truth. Like, this program needs the funding because people need help. If they could have seen me like from here down, they'd have seen my hands shaking. I'd do it again in a heartbeat because it is so necessary for people like me who do work, who are educated, who just find themselves in a situation because of a series of unfortunate events.
Since then, we've worked really hard to get back on our feet, but COVID-19 was a setback that we really couldn't afford. And without the support of Solid Ground, we are facing homelessness. And I don't fear many things, but I do fear being homeless again.
So going before that council was terrifying because to stand up and say I was homeless for 2 years with my children, that sounds like the beginning of a bad mom story.
Your work and those who joined you in testifying on behalf of additional rental assistance was very meaningful, and it worked. It did some good. So good job.
If we can center the people most impacted by policy decisions, we can make the right ones.
Knowing that we can continue to support our folks who are struggling through this pandemic, and now they don't have to worry about losing a roof over their head and don't have to worry about losing this support and this safety net is huge.
When she told me that they increased the funding and it went through, I was like, yes, because it can help more people. A hand up is not a hand out. And this program is a hand up. It is a chance.
When they graduate, it's going to be kind of corny, but they're really on a little bit more of their own solid ground. And that's just priceless.
Solid Ground could not bring all its services to the community without many, many partners. We are so grateful for working with brilliant and resilient people throughout the community. Here are a few of them.
Solid Ground, thank you so much for your years of service. I am so thankful for all of the work you do, especially during these times where our community's health is at risk, by providing housing and education, nutrition services, programs that actually create the ability for folks to have self-determination and get out of generational poverty. Your programs are helping make people healthier, and during this deadly pandemic, it's critical that we all support you. I do. I hope everybody in this city does. Solid Ground, thanks for all the years of service. Really appreciate you.
Hi there, this is Miguel Saldin with Asian Counseling and Referral Service. You know, Solid Ground has supported ACRS in so many different ways. They've helped us out with transportation and deliveries, technical support, distribution of COVID information and supplies, advocacy efforts, volunteer recruitment, funding support, and product purchasing. The staff at Solid Ground has always gone out of their way to help us out, and we are just so thankful for that. Without our partnership with Solid Ground, we couldn't do the work that we do today. So thank you.
Hey, this is Lorenzo Boyce, software engineer and one of 2 regional co-leads of a global employee resource group known as the Black Googler Network. Washington's chapter of the Black Googler Network stands behind Solid Ground because of our shared mission of empowerment and addressing racial equity. We recognize Solid Ground as a prominent community leader that's focused on key social issues that plague the Black community. We have a mutual desire to remove the barriers that's blocking progress and act as a resource to those most in need. We have a common vision of a world that's free of racism, where communities of color have an equitable chance at success.
Hi guys, I'm Chef Eduardo Jordan, the chef of June Baby and Solari Restaurant right here in beautiful Ravenna. I love partnering with Solid Ground because I am directly impacting my community, helping people get back on their feet, and giving them the next opportunity to get where they need to be.
Wow, so cool seeing so much support from a variety of partners and donors. And y'all, can we just show some love for LaTanya in the chat? LaTanya's story was amazing. And, you know, I think sharing her story and amplifying her story really moved that piece of policy change through. And that is a huge win.
For real.
That's a huge win.
For real, though.
So big love to LaTanya and all the Solid Ground folks who were involved in that advocacy effort. Show some love for them in the chat, please. And, you know, I think that policy change, and this is something that I really appreciate about Solid Ground's work, is that policy change was informed by the voices of the folks who are most affected by it. And this is a huge win. This is going to bring hundreds and thousands of dollars of rental assistance through the pipeline to ensure that folks who need support to keep their housing have that support. So just a really, really awesome to see LaTanya's story and that piece. And speaking of our housing work, Wands, you know our housing work pretty well. Wands, you've been volunteering with our Broadview program for domestic survivors of domestic violence, as well as our Sandpoint housing community in Magnuson Park. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved and what it's meant to you to work with some of the families out there.
Sure, Finika. I got involved just after attending a luncheon where Spike Lee was he was the keynote, right? And I was so moved by the whole setup and what Solid Ground was about. I just asked how I could be involved. So because of my so-called celebrity, I was asked, maybe you could just go hang out with some of the kids. And I was like, okay, I can do that. Well, that kind of evolved into the need was there were kids who were, young men who didn't really have a positive black male role model. And so I've been mentoring men, young boys, for about 3.5 years. And one, he has, over the last 3 years, he has turned into such a great young man, so much so that he just landed a full ride scholarship to O'Day High School.
That's so awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Wands. And thank you for being a part of our Solid Ground family. Wands is one of the thousands of volunteers who make our work possible. I mean, volunteers contribute so much to our work. And if you're interested in learning more about how to get involved, there's still plenty of ways for folks to do that in a safe way these days. So head on over to our website to learn more about volunteering opportunities and how to get involved. I now have an immense pleasure of introducing a very special guest to the stage of Golden Hour. She is a new beacon of light for Solid Ground, and that's Shalimar Gonzalez, who is our new CEO, and she joined us just this past January. After nearly 20 years of working in the YMCA system, she has brought her passion for social justice, organizational chops, and a really fabulous, upbeat energy that I'm sure you all will see in a second. And she's sitting down with Wands to share a little bit more about her vision for our community in her first ever public spotlight as our CEO. So, folks, please join me in giving Shalimar a warm welcome in the chat as she sits down with Wands to share a little bit more.
Well, hello there.
Hi, Juan.
How are you, Shalimar?
Doing well, you?
Oh, I'm having the time of my life right now.
Right.
It's kicking. So I have a few questions. What is it that attracted you to Solid Ground?
Juan, that's a great question, and I always think that it's likely similar to kind of your story in some ways. This idea of hearing about the organization, and I, in my time with the YMCA, I had an opportunity to participate in the Fremont Fair and particularly run a stage that was for youth artists. And so that was like my first kind of foray into what became Solid Ground. And what continued and kind of brought me to where I am now is just the idea of being able to connect my personal passions, the things that I like to do in my life and who I like to be, with an organization that is very similar. This whole idea of eradicating and ending poverty, and eradicating and trying to wrestle with systems of oppression. That is so much of who I am as an individual and as a person. And so to be able to kind of marry the two together is really just a dream come true.
Awesome. Cool. Well, you've been CEO for a little over 3 months, almost 3 months, right?
Yep.
So how have you seen Solid Ground support our community's resilience?
Yeah, I think that, I see it every single day. And this idea of being able to, in a time in 2020, in a time where there could have been an opportunity, and probably would have been every opportunity for the organization, for the staff, for volunteers, for people just to say, it's too much. We can't do it. To see a team of folks be able to step into that space, into that gap, and say, no, we need to do this because there is so much riding on it. There's so much need out there, and the need continues to get greater. That is the thing that when I think about the impact and the mission of Solid Ground, those are the things that bring me into work every single day, whether in person or virtually. Those are the pieces that inspire me to get up every single day, is really that impact that the organization and that our staff have, and our volunteers have, and our stakeholders and community partners. And, I think Finica mentioned, the work that happened with transportation, and really taking our transportation work that moved from transporting people around to various appointments to pivoting, and to be able to then take and say, all right, well, if we don't necessarily see the need in terms of moving people around, what do we need to get to people? We need to get resources. We need to get food to people. So let's go ahead and let's shift that. So it wasn't necessarily just throwing our hands up in the air and saying, oh, we can't do it, it's just too hard. It was really this mobilization of thought partners and people coming together to say, we need to do it, so how are we going to do it?
Cool. I really love that you're bringing that new energy. It's infectious. I have one more question.
Okay.
What is your vision for how Solid Ground can increasingly shine a light on our community?
Well, it's I'm almost at 3 months, so I'm probably at a place where I should have a vision. But like I said, I'm still learning every single day. The different programs that are happening. For me, the thing that I kind of tie into is the fact that as we start to kind of move ourselves out of this post-health pandemic into kind of what is after. The need is still going to be there. The need is actually probably going to be greater than it was pre-pandemic in terms of the rental support and the services and the tenant services and the youth development that happens and the mobilization of resources and getting people access to transportation to where they need to go in a timely and safe fashion. Those things are going to continue to need, and we're going to continue to see that gap. And so I see Solid Ground as the organization that will continue to double down, will continue to, step in and fill that gap. The thing that I'm really interested in and that I'm really excited to explore with our staff and our volunteers and our board members is this concept of yes and. So it is, yes, we will always do those things until we have eradicated poverty. We will always do those things until we eradicate racism. We will always do those things until we have figured out how to combat the systems of oppression that have resulted in some places that people are at. It is the and that makes it interesting. It's the sustainability of it. It is, yes, we can do those things, and how do we do it in a sustainable manner? Yes, we can do those things. How do we engage more volunteers in our work? Yes, we will do those things and fill in the blank. And so that is the space where I think when we're talking about a vision, it is the yes and of that vision. And so that is the place where, like I said, I'm excited to kind of really dive into. The staff team at Solid Ground, the volunteers like yourself and others at Solid Ground, our board members are folks that are uniquely situated in their own passion, in their own work and mission to see this organization be successful. So it's just a matter of putting all those pieces together. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Shalimar Gonzalez, the new CEO.
I am excited. And I think even I'm also excited. I think you had a little performance coming up, yeah, for us?
Maybe.
Okay, excellent. So gang, here's the deal. If you want to see Wands and special guests perform, please tune in. And while you are continuing to tune in and learn about the great work of Solid Ground, please go ahead and pick up whatever mobile device you have in front of you and text GLOW to 50155. Again, text GLOW to 50155 and help us reach our goal this evening as we continue the amazing, impactful work that you have seen throughout our program. And you'll hear a little bit more later on this evening as well. And so again, it's always an opportunity. If you've got folks out there in your network that are not tuning in right now, feel free to have them join us. We still have about a half an hour left, and so there is great things that you're going to hear about and see. So go ahead and invite your networks to join in. You can do a live feed, you can send the link, however you want to do it, but we like to have the more the merrier at this point in time in our virtual world. And I would be remiss to say that without our partners, we wouldn't be able to do the work that we have been able to do for the past year and then some. And as we continue to think about the success of Solid Ground, the impact of Solid Ground, we do it always in collaboration with others. And so we're gonna hear a little bit more from our partners right now.
Solid Ground has supported Bird Bar Place in working for equity and justice by partnering with us on policy and systems change initiatives for Black, Indigenous, and people of color and low-income communities so that the residents of Seattle could realize a better future. We're working together to help people fully actualize their economic and political lives, supporting them through their struggles for liberation and economic security. Together, our organization's work is rooted in racial equity and social justice, as well as human dignity.
Claire Santra, and I've been supporting Solid Ground for almost 14 years. Growing up in the Seattle area, I've witnessed a tremendous change in the lack of affordable housing, and I'm inspired to support Solid Ground because I know they're doing great work to solve both the immediate needs and the root problems that we face today. And with all their years' experience, I can count on them to use their funding in a way that's going to make the most impact.
Here at Family Works, we are proud partners of Solid Ground, and we are so honored to join them for their golden hour, which is celebrating community brilliance and resilience. And that is exactly what Solid Ground has poured into the community and invested in our community over many years. At Family Works, they have helped our participants gain access to critical resources like housing, like transportation, and they have provided so much support, not just to our food banks, but to the food banks all over this city. We are continually inspired by their fight against poverty.
Hi, I'm Jean Colwell's King County Council member, and I am solidly with Solid Ground. I have been for years and years and years because Solid Ground really produces results for people who are in need. Solid Ground is solid in terms of its mission, its vision, its strategies, its practices. I have no question at all when Solid Ground contacts me and would like to have help with the county. And I'm there for Solid Ground.
I love what Councilmember Colwell just said. Solid Ground is solid. So, we should probably just change our motto right now to that. Folks, while you were hanging out with Wands and Shalimar, I went ahead and took a peek at the donation thermometer, and we are 78% of our way to meeting our goal. So thank you so much to all those folks who have donated over the hour to help support community brilliance and resilience. And let's keep that thermometer rising and see what we can do together. We still have about 20 minutes left of our program. And again, thank you to all those folks who have made a gift already during Golden Hour. While you're all madly texting GLOW to 50155 to make your gift, I want to take a second to show some love to some amazing Solid Ground teams that have shown brilliance in so many ways this year. And of course, folks, head on over to the chat to join me in showing my appreciation for them. And let's send our love to them across the internet. So first, let's fill the chat with some love for our access drivers that Shalimar was talking about, who have gone from transporting folks across the city to distributing tens and thousands of meals across the city during the pandemic. Let's hear it for our finance team, who has been working in overdrive to cut checks to process millions of dollars in rental assistance to ensure that that money gets in the hands of those who need extra support in keeping the housing that they have. And of course, thank you to all of our essential workers at our residential programs, at our food banks, at all of our direct services who are putting their participants and their community needs first. And folks, your support is what enables our teams, like the ones that we mentioned, to continue to make impact, to continue to be flexible, and to continue to be brilliant. So thank you again to all those folks who have supported, and you can still make your donation by texting GLOW to 50155 or by checking the chat for the link to donate.
Another amazing team is Solid Ground's housing team, who keeps families housed and support those experiencing homelessness to get back on solid ground. They help adults meet their goals and support younger generations to create the world they want to live in. At our Sandpoint housing campus, partners like the Seattle Public Library and Vulcan have supported this work. They've created a thing called Art Club. I love this. For the resident youth there, Art Club brings Black, Indigenous, people of color, teaching artists to the campus to work with these kids using art to process impactful life events and develop skills they need to be tomorrow's community leaders. Here's a window into the world of the Sandpoint Campus Art Club.
Oh my gosh! When I heard I had the opportunity to be interviewed by Ozzy today, I said,
Yeah, big eyeball. Do you wear a mask?
oh, do I wear a mask?
When are you gonna leave?
I'm trying to round up all of my little microbe friends.
Well, you gotta go. Because let me tell you something. Do you have family?
Yes. All of my family is coronaviruses.
If I were COVID, in order for me to leave, I would like a buffet, a PS5.
I probably wouldn't leave. If I would leave, then I would need an Xbox Series X and a pet duck.
I would probably just leave. It's a good massage for my back and my neck and my feet and a buffet. Like, I need food.
If there is no school forever.
So Sauce Dog Boy, you got all the vibes right now, so you're gonna rock with me right now, all right?
Look to my left. Look to my right.
What?
Loving them.
Yeah.
Loving my life. I got some food.
What?
I got a roof.
Roof?
I'm feeling blessed.
Blessed?
I got the proof.
What?
Essential workers.
How is it like when you're wearing your mask?
I think when I'm wearing my mask, I really am trying to be safe, out there.
I'm always feeling really full of gratitude because I'm out and I'm working with people and helping them in some way.
I feel like Batman with my mask on, actually. I am doing the good work, fighting off the viruses and the bad people, the bad situations.
Is there a word in that list that you don't understand and want to know more about?
Well, what does disability?
Are you trying to sound a disparity?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Sometimes we see that people in different communities don't have the same health, and we call that a disparity.
We focus on
health disparities or differences in health because we want everybody to get better together.
Sometimes Black people can get coronavirus more than other communities. And why does that happen? A lot of Black people don't have a job where you can work at home. And a lot of us have to work outside of our home.
We don't want certain groups to be still sick while other groups are getting better.
It's not fair, is it? We shouldn't get sick more often than someone else. So I think disparity means unfair.
What are all your thoughts on the coronavirus and just the pandemic in general?
That is a great question. I don't know how much time we have.
You're drawing. There we go. Oh my gosh, it's looking really cool.
You putting your face in, Azam?
Don't forget about the communism.
No, so you have communist dog in here now.
No, that's a communist.
Oh, it's communist. That's that's very nice.
As you can see from Art Club, that old cliche, it takes a village, it's true, really true. A compassionate community involves everyone bringing their best to the benefit of all. We so appreciate over the more than 400 organizations and individuals who partner with Solid Ground to create wraparound services for our residents and clients. You make this work possible.
Yeah, and Wands, I have also had the privilege and pleasure, like you, to work with some of these Sandpoint youth that you all saw on that video, and I can't say enough just how awesome they are. I mean, you probably have seen a little bit of that from the video, but just the natural leadership and creativity and hilariousness that they show if they're given the opportunity is just brilliant. And folks, your support helps to enable us to continue providing supportive services, enriching programming, and mentorship and guidance for all the folks that we work with, especially the youth that you saw in that video. So if you haven't made a gift yet during Golden Hour, now is a better time than any, because actually while we were watching that video, I got news of a new anonymous donor who has stepped up to the plate to expand our matching pool so that anyone who donates over the next 20 minutes, the rest of our time together, anyone who donates at any level, at any size, will have their donation matched. So to say that again, if you make a gift during Golden Hour, your impact will be doubled by a new anonymous donor who has stepped up to expand our matching pool. So folks, if you haven't given yet, now is the time. Please take advantage of this opportunity. And if you've already given, we hope you'd consider taking advantage of this opportunity that this new donor has created for us. So thank you so much to this anonymous donor, as well as all the rest of our folks in our matching pool, for creating this amazing opportunity for folks and showing your dedication to Solid Ground.
We'd also like to thank our partners who make the Golden Hour possible. Town Hall Seattle for hosting and streaming. Mama Nikki, our awesome video editor. Mm-hmm. Art Club coordinator C. Davida Ingram, and teaching artists Jarrell Davis, Dakota Camacho, and Romson Bastillo. You can find more information on how to connect with them on our event page at Solid Ground's website, which is solid-ground.org.
And of course, we could not have done all of the things that have culminated to this hour, that is Golden Hour, without our support from amazing event partners who we just owe so much gratitude to. So thank you so much to Vulcan, our social justice champion, who really made Art Club possible, and they supported that partnership with all of our artists and with C. DeVita Ingram, and just are really grateful to Vulcan for that support. Thank you so much to all of our Changemaker event partners, the Coho team of Windermere Agents, Whole Foods Market, Sprague Israel Giles Insurance, and Microsoft. And a big thank you to all of our Amplifier event partners at Swedish, DCG1, Virginia Mason, Arcora Foundation, and US Bank. And much love to all of our Community Builder event partners who y'all can see on the screen there. And of course, last but not least, thank you to all of our VoiceRaiser event partners and additional supporters. And I'm going to wait for that slide to come up. There we go. So y'all can see all the amazing VoiceRaiser partners that we have, as well as some additional supporters. And, you know, I do some work with our sponsors and event partners, and I just have to say that I've been really humbled to see all the continued support from our event partners, even in this funky virtual event space that we're in. So a huge thank you to our event partners for sticking by and believing in Solid Ground's work and making Golden Hour possible. Lastly, our final video sheds light on a fundamental truth of Solid Ground's work, and it touches on one of the things that I really love about working for this organization, and that's this idea and this deep belief in the strength and power and knowledge of the people who come to us seeking for support. So, you know, we understand that they are the ones who are experts in their own lives and that we are only but trusted guides along their path. In this final video from some partners and Solid Ground community members share a little bit more about this.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Riz, play-by-play announcer for the Seattle Mariners and also co-founder of our Toys for Kids charity. I'm proud to say that for the past 25 years, Toys for Kids has worked with the Broadview Women's Shelter because the shelter and the women there, along with their kids, are exactly who we set out to help when we started our charity. But you know, the real heroes in this story are the women who work at the shelter to give these women and their kids a chance to get their lives back together and on a path for a brighter future. So on behalf of Toys for Kids, thank you.
My name is Vishwajit Singh. I'm coming to you from New York City. 2 years ago, I had the honor and privilege of working with the youth at Sandpoint campus. They are an amazing bunch who come from very humble and vulnerable backgrounds. What they brought in the sessions that I got to work with them, storytelling sessions, is a tremendous amount of hope and creative energy. We got to work on this comics anthology, all of their creation, superheroes inspired by their own selves who are going to solve problems of the future. To me, that gives me hope for the future, knowing they will get to be the leaders of tomorrow.
My name is Kenya, and I am a member of the Community Council at Solid Ground. What led me to join the Community Council was in a way of giving back to the organization after receiving their help. I think one of the ways that Solid Ground contribute to eradicating the impact of poverty in our community is by providing the service and treating people with dignity despite the circumstances in which they find themselves.
Hi, my name's Deidre Cunningham, and I'm currently the chair of the Solid Ground Board of Directors. And I think what inspires me the most is that I did spend most of my childhood living in poverty in a community filled with families that also didn't have any money like mine. I spent time in government-funded programs where some of the adults running those programs really just didn't have any expectation that I would reach my dreams or potential. So I believe that I do this work now to ensure that every person is treated with respect and given the support they need to reach that potential and to accomplish their dreams.
I really love what Deidre said, and it gives me hope for a world where everyone can reach their full potential and thrive. So thanks so much to everyone who has made a gift to support this same vision this past hour. We really appreciate your support. And folks, the Golden Hour doesn't stop here. This program was recorded and it will stay up on our website and Facebook and YouTube. So please feel free to share this with your networks and your friends. Folks can still support the Golden Hour and Solid Ground's work for the next week. So feel free to share this stream, especially if you enjoyed some of the stories and highlights from today. And of course, a huge thank you and mad love to my co-host over here, Wands. It's been a pleasure, a dream to share the stage with you. So really appreciate all you do for Solid Grounds family.
It ain't over. It ain't over. Thank you, Finika. Thanks to everyone out there. I do believe that the wonderful technical geniuses out there have a little bit of music for us. Yeah.
Yes.
We want to sing a song to express just how awesome we think y'all are. Thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Excited to share the stage with Wands for the first and probably only time.
You never know.
Here's Jill Scott's Golden. I'm taking my freedom, pulling it off a shelf, putting it on my chain, wear it around my neck. I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my car, where I choose to go. It will take me far. I'm
living my life like it's golden.
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 Living my life like it's
golden. Golden.
Living my life like it's golden.
I'm living my life like it's golden.
Living my life like it's golden.
Living my life like it's golden. Golden.
I'm taking my own freedom, putting it in my song, singing loud and strong, grooving all day long. I'm taking my freedom, putting it in my stroll. I'll be high stepping, y'all, letting the joy unfold. I'm living my life like it's golden.
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 Golden.
Living my life like it's 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 golden. Golden.
I'm holding on to my freedom. You can't take it from me. I was born into it. It comes naturally. I'm strumming along to my freedom. Playing the God in me, representing His glory. Hope He's proud. Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Golden. Living my life like it's golden. Golden.
Living my life like it's golden.
Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Living my life like it's golden. Golden, 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 golden. I'm living my life like it's golden, 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 golden.
Thank you all for joining us today. Woo, Lord. You don't have any idea how stressful all this stuff is, but it's for a good cause. Keep those donations coming and check out solid-ground.org for more information about this wonderful cause, okay? Thanks from everyone who's involved in the production, Finika, Town Hall, and especially you. Take care of yourselves, y'all. Then go do that for somebody else. Peace. We out.
Knock me off of my feet, but I think it's time for me to start walking again. Stop running away from me. Next time you see me, I will be singing a new song. I am learning to shine on. Shine on, shine on. There'll be time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, getting hard not to give in, and it ain't easy living in hard times. I know it's weighing on your mind, but next time you see me, I'll be up and lifting. Yes, I will give you hope. I am learning as I go to shine on, shine on, shine on. There'll be time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. I know how dark it seems, feel it coming up inside of me, and I feel it in you too, in everything we do. But next time you see me, we'll both be laughing, or just to be alive. We are learning to shine, shine on, shine on, shine on. There'll be time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. Shine on, shine on. There'll be time enough for darkness when everything's gone. Shine on, shine on. There is work to be done in the dark before dawn. There is work to be done, so you've got to shine on.